From the Arizona Daily Star and Tucson.com, this is the Wildcast.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Wildcast. Justin Spears here with sports editor Ryan Finley and Arizona football insider Michael Lev. Guys, I realized this earlier this week when I posted our Monday episode, Lev. We are officially over 400 episodes into the Wildcast podcast.
Good Lord.
And I believe, really? I believe you guys did episode numero uno.
I think I did episode number 1 from my car. Because back before we had real technology, like this lovely studio, Justin, by the way, and thank you for putting the studio together. We had like recording devices on our phones, and the best place to get sort of silence was sitting in the car. So I would bring, I think it was Zach Rosenblatt, old friend. I think he sat in the front seat of my Ford Edge at the time, and we recorded something on my phone. Very high tech. Very high tech.
I think I was part of episode 0, which never aired.
Because of all the
Zach was involved with that.
Because of all the swearing.
Could be. Yeah. I think in that episode, I predicted that Khalil Tate would overtake Brandon Dawkins as the starting quarterback for Arizona, and that actually did happen in 2017.
I don't know,
if you recall, but there's no proof. There's no proof.
Yeah, there's no proof.
Yeah. Hey, breaking news, by the way.
What's that,
Justin? The Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year Award semifinalists have been announced. Did you know that there was a thing called the Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year Award?
Only thing I ever think about when Sean Alexander comes to mind is the hit stick in Madden.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey,
That's it.
Arizona's Tetaroa McMillan has made the list of semifinalists. There's about 15 guys on here, so that's pretty good.
Freshman of the Year. When did they add that award?
I don't know. Pretty recently.
Did he like endow that award?
Yeah.
Like is he the guy we think of when we think of great freshmen?
He's not who I think of, but hey, good for T-Mac, good for Arizona.
Yeah.
Good for Sean. Great for Sean Alexander.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think he might be the front runner for offensive freshman of the year in the Pac-12 too.
Yeah.
A couple other guys in that mix, but that.
Do they do offensive and defensive?
They do in the Pac-12. They do. Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Arizona's going to definitely need a lot of T-Mac this weekend.
They will,
as they get ready to face the Utah Utes. Utah number 12 in the country, right? AP or
14 in the CFP, 12 in the AP. And
okay.
Unfortunately for us AP voters, once the CFP shows up, we just kind of get shoved to the corner and never heard
Nobody
from again.
puts Lev in the corner.
On the bright side, do ridiculous fans from other programs leave you alone starting in early November?
No, they still get mad. I haven't really gotten a lot of vitriol this season, so I must be doing something wrong.
Central Florida fans not still blowing you
up.
I
had
them
in
briefly.
Mentions. I took them out. They're in the CFP rankings. I have Washington in my top 25.
Okay.
And not a lot of other people do. I feel like they and Oregon State have about equal resumes, and I guess we're about to find out which one of those two is better since they're playing each other.
Top 25 spots on the line in that game right there.
By the way, I love weekday Pac-12 football. It's something to look forward to, don't you think?
Oh, I love Friday.
Friday night football is great. Thursday night football is great.
I've said this before on the podcast, and it seems so obvious to me, but shouldn't part of the new media deal be Friday night football on Amazon?
Yes.
100%.
Or also, how about
100%.
Thursday night doubleheader with the NFL game on Amazon?
Oh, that's interesting. Because of the
almost all
because
right,
of the sequencing, because those games are going to be in East Coast prime time.
Exactly. You could then say, and at 8:30, stay tuned for Oregon State, Washington State, or whatever it would be.
They want to have their shoulder programming though.
Yeah.
They paid all that money to that giant cast of characters they have for their post game, and they want to probably get guys coming out of the locker room and onto the set there on the sideline as one does on a Thursday night. So maybe not, but I like what you're thinking here.
Talk to Ryan Fitzpatrick and his beard and Andrew Whitworth's blazer hoodie combo. You see that?
Yeah, no, I like that actually. That's good.
You like that?
I do.
I do. It's
do.
a weird look to me.
It is a weird look. There was a time, Justin, like maybe 10 years ago, where that stuff was very popular. Like a blazer with a
hoodie
hood
blazer.
On it. Oh yeah. Very popular.
Wow.
Very very popular.
All right, we have our Pac-12 picks later on in the podcast. I did terrible last week against the spread. I did awesome money line wise, but against the spread, I am tumbling in the standings. I believe you're our clear-cut number one guy, right?
Hey, man, that's a long season. Remember, we were talking in week 2 that we were never going to catch Justin.
Well, you caught me.
You got so hot.
And you hurdled me.
Yeah. It's okay, though. There's still like another month. Plenty of time to catch me.
All right, so let's talk about Arizona versus Utah on Saturday real quick, guys. We're going to have our game predictions to end the podcast, but just thoughts on Arizona right now going into this game because, yeah, they're sitting at, 3-5 right now. But you look at all their losses, especially in Pac-12 play, they're in a lot of these games. I know Oregon kind of got away from them in the fourth quarter there, but, I mean, they were competing against the Ducks. Against Washington on the road. I mean, they had a shot there. Just last week against a top 10 USC team, the fact that Arizona took them all the way down to the last couple minutes of the game, I think, shows how far this program has come. But with that being said, they've given up 49 points 3 straight times and then 45 points against USC. But they're still competitive in these games. So I think the formula, and Lev, you pointed this out on radio, is that in these games that Arizona's losing, they don't have any takeaways. Offense is holding up their end of the bargain, but the defense needs to get a takeaway or two, maybe a fourth down stop, and Arizona might be in business to win.
0 sacks, 0 takeaways in all 4 of those games that you referenced. I mean, it almost seems impossible to be
I could do that.
Defense.
Suit me up, man. I could get 0 sacks in 4
right?
games. Yeah.
So, God, man, got to find a way to get some pressure on the quarterback. The pressure on the quarterback is usually what leads to the turnovers, right? You get a strip sack. You get a bad pass, a hurried throw, something of that nature. They're going against a quarterback in this game, in all likelihood, and Cam Rising, who's not going to be 100%. I think it's because of a knee issue. I don't think, and we'll see when they trot out onto the field, I don't think the rest of their injured guys are going to be available. I think they're going to be without Dalton Kincaid. Tavion Thomas, his status has been murky all season. I don't think he's going to be available. Micah Bernard is still really banged up. And Brant Keithy's are out for the season. So it's sort of like last week when, USC was missing its top 2 receivers. Like, is Arizona's A team able to beat the other team's B team? Mm-hmm. And this might be even like a B- team based on all the guys that they're missing.
This is what we call foreshadowing for Michael Lev's Arizona-Utah pick coming up here pretty soon. Justin, you said that Arizona's been able to hang with all these teams. Yeah, I think Arizona offensively is kind of a borderline juggernaut at this point. You look at the way Jaden Delore has been playing. Obviously, the emergence of even somebody like Dorian Singer. This is a team that is super fun to watch. But, man, that defense. It's... I know that the final score last week said it was an 8-point game with Arizona and USC. The fact remained, Arizona, couldn't get stops. Yeah. Couldn't get stops. And they could have played all through the night and into the next day, and Arizona, I don't think, would have been able to get a stop. That's the problem. Now, USC is very talented, obviously, but Arizona's defense has struggled against even the worst offenses in the Pac-12. So, again, as we look ahead at the next month of the season, more or less, you're looking at Utah this week, UCLA the week after, Washington State, and ASU. I think Arizona can reasonably go 2-2 in their final 4 games, but they got to get better on defense.
Yeah.
And Lev, it seems like they're trying everything they can to try to get some sort of a spark. We've seen some notable personnel changes the last couple of weeks. Jacob Manu starting at linebacker. Last week, the new defensive back. Are there some scheme changes, or is there anything out there that they are trying or should try in order to try to get a little something more out of this unit?
You could try blitzing more. They only blitzed, I want to say, 7 times against USC. Yet, they were able to get more pressure against USC than they got against Washington. What's the difference between Arizona's defense and, say, Utah's defense? Okay, I'm going to give you some numbers that will startle you. This is what it is right here, okay? Utah, according to Pro Football Focus, has 144 quarterback pressures this season. They have 7 guys who have 11 or more. Arizona has only 90 quarterback pressures, so 54 fewer, and only 2 guys who have 11 or more. One of those is Paris Shand, who has 11, and he had 6 against Colorado.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
So that's what it is. You got to have dudes up front who can get after the quarterback. And I'm sure that's going to be a priority in recruiting. It's going to be a priority in the transfer portal. Do they have those guys on this team? Maybe, but those guys might not be ready to really wreak havoc. You're talking about Russell Davis the second, Sterling Lane the second, Tai Youngalale, who we're just going to call TTU for short. These types of people. Jacob Kangaika. I mean, these are all true freshmen.
Yeah.
You know, and several of them weren't here in spring.
I mean, Kangaika was a recruited walk-on, right?
He
Who they gave a scholarship to.
Well, I think
overlooked.
that's an indictment on the programs that they're recruiting. Like Jacob Rich Kangaika, modern day.
Right.
Jacob Manu, Anaheim Servite.
Right.
Tai Tauyuigalele is from modern day.
Right.
Russell Deuce Davis is from Hamilton. Like a lot of these guys who are playing are all coming from these notable programs that Arizona has whiffed on in the past.
Sure, but they're also freshmen.
They're freshmen, yes.
They're Catholic School League freshmen who you're expecting to line up against 24-year-olds at Utah. That's not a recipe for success.
Well, and that's why I say, like, you mentioned all of the injuries. A lot of these injuries are all skill players, right?
Right.
I think when it's Arizona versus Utah, only thing that matters is what's going on up front. So even if Dalton Kincaid's injured and not playing, it doesn't matter, regardless of who's playing quarterback. I mean, we saw last week against Washington State, right? And Washington State's a pretty physical team this year.
Right.
And yet Utah was still able to kind of edge them out with their B team. I think
Their C team, yeah.
C team. What happens up front matters, and that's why I don't think it's going to really change anything against Arizona.
I mean, I thought one of the telling moments in last week's game against USC, fellas, was when there was sort of a flurry of touchdowns, third quarter, maybe midway through the third. And at some point, USC just went, we're just going to hand the ball off. And they handed the ball. I mean, it was only, I think, a drive or two. But they essentially just took the air out of the football. And it wasn't even particularly clever running. A lot of it was just up the middle, up the middle, up the middle. I wonder if that is going to be the book on Arizona here in the final month of the season. Yeah. If there's any team in the league that wouldn't mind running the ball 40 times up the you-know-what against Arizona, I think it's Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, when Utah's going good, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And so, do I think that Arizona is catching a little bit of a break by facing a Utah team minus a lot of starters? Absolutely. But this is not a good schematic matchup here because I think Utah's not afraid to just pound the football.
Yeah. And I thought USC was going to do that last week.
I don't know why they didn't do that. I don't know why they didn't do that more. Yeah,
because Brendan Rice happened, and Taj Washington. They had some pretty big games for USC.
Brendan Rice.
But I do think it's very commendable that defensive coordinator Johnny Nansen is willing to switch things up.
Yeah,
he had a bye week. They had a week to think about USC and change things up, and he said, "Listen, some formations we're just going to roll out." The dollar package, that's what they call it, and it's 7 defensive backs.
Right.
We're going to throw out Takario Bobo Davis and Ephesians Prysock and all these DBs and great names for defensive backs.
First of all, Ephesians Prysock is the greatest name in the history of names.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And did it work? I mean, USC was pretty solid on third down.
Right.
But they got USC to third down.
Right.
Now they need to figure out ways to get these stops and get the defense off the field.
Well, and here's the problem. The dollar defense isn't going to help you when Utah's got 3 tight ends on the field, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they just sort of line up and say, we're running, come stop us, I don't think Arizona has the players at this point to do that, especially against a Utah team that is, again, very experienced. Even their 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
Very experienced team.
You guys are spot on. It's that trench battle that has to worry you.
Yeah.
Right? Utah often will have guys who go on missions and come back, and then they're 22, 23 years old playing up front. They are, even though they're an elite program in the league, they're still a developmental program in the sense that they don't throw a bunch of freshmen out there on the offensive and defensive lines. They've developed their guys. They build up strength. And then by the time they play, they're grown men. And they're going up against young men.
Right.
Well, in a lot of cases, especially on defense for Arizona.
Well, and not to pick on him because I think he's actually done a really good job this year. Jacob Manu is undersized for a linebacker. Fair to say?
Yes. Very much so.
Incredibly undersized for a
here we go.
linebacker.
Lev insulted him the other day
By
about his size.
Oh, that's fun.
He called him short to his face. No, Lev said, you're not this 6'4", 235 pound linebacker. You probably never will be. And then Jada Delora and Jacob Otto both looked at each other like, damn, man.
Yeah. Did you guys then go like back to back to see who was taller?
We didn't, but I feel like I could make that statement because I also will never be a 6'4", 235-pound linebacker.
Right. But
so it's like I can make fun of other bald people. You know what I mean?
Like this is no knock on Jacob Manu. Jacob Manu's like 18, maybe 19, and he's undersized. And there are going to be guys coming right at him on Saturday that are 4, 5, 6 years older than he is. Big and strong and developed guys. The fact that Manu's been able to do what he's done this year, I think, is actually really impressive. But, I mean, if I'm playing Arizona, it's like Madden, Justin. If I'm playing Arizona, I'm getting in the goal line formation. I'm going fullback dive, power, some sort of power, and then we're doing play action off of that.
Lev, real quick, before we go to Pac-12 picks for the week, Salt Lake City, where does that rank among Pac-12 cities?
Oh, Ryan wants to jump in here so desperately.
I know. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't have the ranking in front of me, but you asked me about this on the radio too. I think like upper half of the league, I think underrated. Like
really
nice down. Yeah, you've got a nice downtown.
Phenomenal.
A lot of good restaurants. Look, if you want to be out partying until 4 a.m, this is probably not the town for you.
No.
But it's really easy to get around. I'm not getting a car. I'm going to ride on public transportation from the airport to downtown, from the downtown to Rice Eccles. The air is usually crisp and fall-like when we go up there. It might be a little cold and rainy this time, but you got the mountains in the background. So, it's not a college town per se, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to have some friends there. One of them works actually as a producer at a TV station there. And then another friend of mine got married there. And it's funny, you walk in with zero expectations, and then I've been blown away. The food there is great. If you want to stay out till 2 a.m, you can. I mean, it's not that you can't. It's just that there are fewer places. Justin, there are breweries there. It is a sneaky great city. And in the Pac-12 footprint, it seems like, Lev, we always go there late in the season, kind of the last month or later, which means it's cold, maybe sometimes a little rainy, without it being miserable.
Okay.
I have a blast. When we talk about the good big cities in the Pac-12, everybody wants to talk about Seattle and about Berkeley. I'd put Salt Lake up there. It's a fun place to go. And by the way, you know what they love in Salt Lake? Utah football.
Yeah.
Every game is jammed. This is going to be a tough place to play for Arizona on Saturday.
I don't know. I've been there one time for the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
So I wasn't there to cover Arizona-Utah football, so maybe the experience would have been a little bit different.
Sure. Was that at the arena, at the NBA arena?
Yeah, the
Vivint Smart Home Arena.
Smart Home Arena.
Yes.
And it was 2017.
Sure.
Laurie Markkinen, who now plays at the arena in the NBA,
Yeah.
was playing for the Arizona Wildcats. And I just remember there were no restaurants open late at night, like after the game. Burger King closed at 9 p.m. in Salt Lake City.
Lever,
This could be a challenge for me with a 5:30 local kick. Gotta admit.
are you staying at,
Yeah.
without telling the people where you're staying, are you staying at in a Utah-based national hotel chain?
Yes, I think so.
Yes. Is it the one by campus? Because that's a fun one.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. If it's that one, that's where I used to stay. There is a Marriott there that's kind of on the top of the hill by campus. And I used to stay there for one reason only. You ready? It was the Marriott that Rick Majerus lived in during the decade. And every time I'd check in, I'd go, so this is the Marriott. And then somebody behind the counter would tell me a disgusting Rick Majerus story. And then I'd go check into my hotel room. I don't know. I really do like that place.
That's like their claim to fame?
Yeah, it's the Marriott where Rick Majerus lived for like a very long time. Yes.
Wow.
It was like 10 years, something like that.
Oh, my goodness. That's the most Ryan Finley thing I've ever heard.
That's why I stay there.
Being,
Why not? If it's that or the place
I love
across
it.
the
I love
street,
that.
that's as good as anything.
All right, let's get into Pac-12 picks for the week. I didn't do so hot last week. Now my overall record straight up is pretty solid. It's 36-11. I like that, but against the spread, I'm not planning on going to Vegas anytime soon. I'm 21-26, so I'm chasing Ryan Finley. I believe Michael Lev's not too far behind.
Yeah, I was 5-0 straight up, 3-2 against the spread. Thank you, Colorado Buffaloes, for coming in the back door. I am now 36-11 as well overall, straight up, and 20-27 against the spread. So only one game behind Justin.
I think it's funny that you guys are both killing me in the straight up, and yet appear to be pulling away from you guys in head-to-head.
It's bizarre. Maybe I'll do cat stats on this next
that
week,
should be
do
something
some
at the end of the
deep
year.
dive analysis.
Yes, I am 32-15 straight up, and a robust 24-23 against the spread.
All right, let's dive into this week's picks.
You're above 500.
Above 500. I would probably. I'm still not making money if we're in Vegas because the VIG takes 10%. But I'm not getting killed either. You know, I'm drinking for free in the sports book, shall they say? So that's okay.
All right, let's start off with Friday's game. 7:30 p.m. kickoff on ESPN2. Number 23, Oregon State versus the Washington Huskies. Washington, they're 4.5-point favorites going into this game.
I mean, they're both 6-2. I don't know why this is. I feel like it could almost be more. It's supposed to be bad weather in Seattle, so
monsoon.
So
rain in Seattle.
Okay, if it's okay, you jest, but they haven't really played in that yet.
That's
and
true.
They are a passing, downfield type of team. You know, will that have a big impact on this game?
So I don't know.
I hate this week's lines. By the way,
same.
they're really hard.
Yeah.
Potential for disaster here. But go ahead, Justin.
So I'm gonna if it's a rainy game. Washington and Michael Penix Jr. are probably not going to be passing the ball a lot. At least not 51 times like they did last week against Cal. So with that being said, I think it's going to be run versus run. I think Oregon State probably has the better rushing attack, but it's at home. I really have a hard time picking against the Huskies right now. They're a hungry team. So I'm going to go with Washington to win, but Oregon State to cover. I like Huskies to win by 3.
Nice. That's very precise. I like that. I like Washington to win and cover here. I think it's a touchdown game. You're playing at home. It's a pretty good home field advantage. During a short week, I always feel like home field advantage might mean a little bit more. So give me the Huskies to win and cover that 4.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ryan on this one. 4 or 4.5?
4.5.
I'm sorry, 4.5. Yes.
4.5.
Okay. I have Washington ranked ahead of Oregon State in my top 25 by one notch. I think they're just slightly better, more explosive on offense. The weather could be a factor, of course, but they live up there. They practice in it. Michael Penix played at Indiana. It's not like he's never played in bad weather before. So I'm also going to take the Huskies to win and cover.
All right, moving ahead to Saturday's slate. Oregon, the 8th-ranked Ducks, taking on Colorado. And, oh, boy, this spread is absurd. Ducks are favored minus 31.5. It's a lot of points for a Pac-12 game. But it is Oregon, and Bo Nix is looking like an NFL quarterback. Oregon and that offense, they're humming along right now. They're just playing really good football. But with that being said, 31 points is a lot. So I'll go with Oregon to win, but I'll go with Colorado to cover. I say Oregon by 28.
I mean, you could easily see them winning by 28. I think they could win by 48 pretty easily. I think they're just going to take care of business. Colorado is just not good. No. Again, I thank the Buffaloes for coming in through the back door last week with a couple late touchdowns against ASU, but I don't know. I just think that Oregon's going to have its way in this game, and I'm willing to lay the monster line of 31.5. I'm going to take the Ducks to win and cover.
Yeah. Same here. This smacks to me of like a 49-7 football game. Colorado's really bad. And, we see this when there are coaching changes midseason. There's usually a little bit of a surge. I think the players get a little bit more engaged. Everybody sort of comes together and realizes that they're fighting for their jobs. And then they regress to the mean. And I think that's where we're at right now with Colorado. So give me the Ducks.
Quarterback problems. Arizona knows them well. They're kind of in that same boat that Arizona was in last year. Maybe worse. maybe worse. I mean, JT Shroud had to play last week because Owen McCown is injured. He was 13 for 34 in that game.
And they're not – we know Colorado's offense. These aren't shots downfield. These are somewhat high percentage throws, you would think. To complete less than half?
13 for 34. That's way less than half. That's not.
That's almost a third.
That's gross.
Journalism school math here. It's like a third.
All right. How about Washington State versus Stanford? I'm not excited about this game. But the Cougs are -4.5. Does Stanford, they have the best kicker in the country? He seems to be like their highest scoring player.
It's because all they do is kick field goals, so he gets a lot of opportunities, and he makes most of them.
I want him on my fantasy
This
team.
isn't Jet Toner, is it? Is he still there?
No, he's gone. That's too bad.
He joins Ephesians Prysock in the
Jet
Ryan Finley Hall of Fame of names. Yep.
But yes, Stanford, they're just kicking a lot of field goals right now. So I think Washington State, I think they kind of revert back to their old ways, get back on track. I feel like this is a bounce back game for the Cougars. So I'm going to go with Washington State to win and win by 7 or 10 points.
You're either going to catch up this week or you're going to be falling into the basement because I'm going to take Stanford to win.
Oh, wow.
Outright and cover.
Wow.
And it's going to be just like the Notre Dame game, and it's going to be just like the ASU game. It's going to be like 17-16. Some ridiculous, neither team's good on offense, really. Stanford, they're at home. They're actually playing like a little bit better. The one thing that worries me is that Washington State does do a good job of getting after the quarterback, and Tanner McKee is kind of statuesque back there in the pocket. But I think this line is off. I don't think Stanford should be a home dog by that much, so I'm going to take them to win and cover.
Yeah, I mean, 4.5. Getting 4.5 at home means that Vegas thinks Washington State is 7.5 points better on a neutral site. It's about a field goal usually. The playing at home. To me that's crazy. So yeah, give me Stanford. I'm also dang it, Lev. I
stole your thunder.
I was gonna be the big upset here. Give me Stanford to win and cover. And if you care about such things, the over/under on this game is 49.5.
Wow.
I'd hammer that under. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Cal versus USC, 7:30 at the Coliseum. The Trojans are 21-point favorites over the Golden Bears.
21 on the nose?
21 on the nose.
I'm looking at 21.5. Can I buy a half point from you? No?
Sure, why not?
Can we call it 21.5?
That's a big deal, man. We got to go. We got to be consistent.
Yeah, it's fine.
We got
consistent.
According to DraftKings,
okay.
It's 21 on the nose. So, do we know about Jordan Addison and Mario Williams and all those guys?
I've stopped thinking about USC and their injuries now that Arizona's not playing them, so I don't know.
Okay. So, with that being said, Brendan Rice, Taj Washington, their B team, the guys that are
Kyle Ford.
These are all players who made impacts against Arizona last week. But it is Arizona's defense. Cal did beat the Wildcats earlier this season. But I felt like that was a game that Arizona lost more than Cal won. USC's a really good team, and it's at the Coliseum. So regardless of Jordan Addison and Mario Williams and their health, give me the Trojans to win, and I'm going to go with them to win by 24.
Okay. I'm going to jump in front of Lev here for a minute, just in case he steals my thunder again. Give me the Golden Bears to cover this thing. Look, you've got Justin Wilcox, who is, I think, a premier defensive mind in the league.
But Lincoln Riley is a premier offensive mind.
It's but what happens when good offense plays good defense? I like Cal here. This strikes me as one of those games. Look, we saw last week USC's really good and really good offensively. USC on defense had some issues, and Cal really can't move the ball, but I think they have enough players to score. I mean, I think Cal can score 3 touchdowns here, and if that's the case, they cover. So give me Cal plus 21. But USC to win.
USC to win.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with USC to win and Cal to cover in this game. The USC team's a little flawed. They have those injuries that you referenced. It wasn't just Jordan Addison. I mean, Mario Williams didn't play last week, and Eric Gentry didn't play last week. Raylan Goforth didn't play last week. They're good. They're also just a team that, do they get up for every single game and play their A-plus game against every opponent? I don't get that sense. So I could easily see this game being, 40-23. In which case, USC wins and Cal covers. So that's what I'm going with.
All right, next game up before the Arizona-Utah game, UCLA ASU. It's Trenton Bourguet time in Tempe. The former walk-on and Tucson native, former Marana High School star, is now the starting quarterback of the ASU Sun Devils. And I asked Greg Hansen in the press box on Saturday, Greg, when's the last time a Tucson native has started for the ASU Sun Devils at quarterback? And he couldn't think of anybody. So unofficially, we can't prove this, but Trenton Bourguet is in a class of his own. So good job on him taking over the starting quarterback spot. He did beat Colorado, though. And, when you pass for over 400 yards, how many touchdowns do you have? 3? Mm-hmm. Great line. But then I also say, man, it is against Colorado, though.
But it's Colorado.
UCLA is a much better team. I think Trenton Bourguet is going to have another impressive game to where he keeps ASU in the game. 11 points, though. That's a lot at home in Tempe. So I think ASU will probably have a backdoor cover. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with UCLA to win, but win by 10 points.
Is it too soon to say that if Sean Aguano could pull an upset this weekend, that he would then become a real candidate for this job? Michael Lev?
It's possible. I really don't know what they're thinking or who's necessarily going to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they don't have boosters in their ear telling them about who to hire.
Yeah, this isn't Auburn.
The only prominent person is a politician, and she requested Urban Meyer. But they're not going to get Urban Meyer.
No,
I feel like ASU doesn't have boosters really having an influence on this coaching search. So I think Sean Aguano can kind of weasel his way in.
Yeah, it's tricky because you get caught up in the emotion of the moment. Mm-hmm. You have to take a step back and view things objectively and do a thorough search. I'd say he's still an underdog, but heck, if they get really hot down the stretch, do pull off an upset, beat Arizona again, it's not impossible. I'd say Kenny Dillingham is a name to keep an eye on for sure. I mean, he's done so well as the offensive coordinator for Oregon, and he's from the Phoenix area, right? Or coached down there, so he's got a lot of ties. Who are we going with in this one, Ryan?
People smarter than me, so John Wilner, our Pac-12 insider, believes ASU is not only going to cover but win. I'm not buying it. I've picked against UCLA too many times this year. I think UCLA is for real, and because of that, I like the Bruins to both win and cover those 11 points.
Yeah, I'm kind of all in on UCLA. I think UCLA and Oregon are the two best teams in the league, most well-rounded teams in the league. I feel like UCLA's got kind of we're just going to take care of business. We've got veterans on this team.
A lot of
no
veterans.
Situation is going to throw us off of our game. So I'm with Ryan on this one again. I'm going to take UCLA to win and cover. I think we're in lockstep on almost everything, and Justin's gone the other way so far on everything. So
hopefully it pays off for me.
Right. I know you'll be working, Michael Lev, but 7:30 p.m. Saturday. I mean, get your popcorn ready. I mean, we got Cal USC and UCLA ASU both on at the same time. One on ESPN, one on Fox Sports 1.
That's
a good night of Pac-12 football.
This is why
there.
The Pac-12 or Pac-10 or whatever it's going to be still has value for the TV networks because of that late night window.
Yep, late night programming.
Yep,
absolutely.
I also love Sean Aguano kind of leading into his old mantra from Chandler High School, and that's Ohana.
Oh, that's
they had
nice.
Ohana everywhere on shirts, part
That's
of
good.
their uniforms, and they're painting it on their field for Saturday's game.
Oh, that's cool. I did not know he was Polynesian.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
All right, how about the game that we've been talking about all podcast long? That's Arizona versus Utah. Mm-hmm. So the last spread that I saw, let's see, had Utah at minus 17.5. That's a big spread. I don't like this one bit. 4:30 in Salt Lake City. I think it's maybe Vegas thinks that all of Utah's players are going to be playing and that the Utes are going to be at full strength and that Arizona is just going to get crushed in Salt Lake City, which we've seen a lot of times over the years. Anytime Arizona goes up to Salt Lake City, they're not successful. But Arizona's offense, I think, is playing at a high level right now. Dorian Singer, I mean, his 3-touchdown performance against USC was one of the more impressive performances that we've seen out of wide receiver over the last couple of years. And that also includes performances from Jacob Cowing and T-Mac. So, I don't know. Arizona's offense is really good. I don't know if Tanner McLaughlin is going to have an impact on this game. Should be interesting to see what he does. But I think Arizona plays complementary football. They use their running backs in the passing game, like we saw with Michael Wiley against USC. And I like Arizona to keep it close. I think Utah's going to win, but I think Arizona gets within 7 or 10 points of the Utes.
Arizona has a really talented offense that's going to be standing around on the sidelines for most of Saturday. That's my prediction. I think Utah is going to run the ball. I think Utah is going to turn this into essentially just ball control football. And also I think they're going to cover. This is a bad matchup schematically, like we've talked about. The one team you don't want to play when you're struggling up the middle is Utah, right, Michael?
You're right.
Okay. I mean, I think this is, to me, it's a 3-touchdown game. So give me the Utes to cover. It's a huge number. I think Arizona's going to score some points, but give me the Utes. Also, winning on the road in the Pac-12 is hard. I feel like I should tattoo that across my chest. It's very hard to go on the road and beat anybody. So
I'm going with Justin on this one. I came very close to picking Arizona to actually win the game outright. I feel like Utah's vulnerable right now. I feel like I overrated them a little bit. I think I had them number 4 in the country to start the season, but that was a full-fledged, fully healthy Utah team.
It's that West Coast bias in the media, Michael.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's so influential, that West Coast bias. So I think that it's going to be a little bit lower scoring than some recent Arizona games. That Utah's going to try to kind of slow it down, ugly it up, as Ryan mentioned. You might get more field goals on both sides than we're used to. The question to me is, is Arizona ready for this? They're going on the road to not just going at. They're not playing. All due respect to Stanford, but they're not going to play in a half full stadium where nobody really cares.
Like you said, half
right?
full,
half empty, half full.
You're a half full kind of guy.
Yeah. However, yes. So Rice Eccles, one of the hardest places to play. Okay, well, we talked earlier about best Pac-12 destinations, hardest places to play. Ryan, Outson Stadium.
I'd say Autzen. I'd say Husky Stadium when it's full, and that's it. I mean, what's near the bottom? Both LA schools.
Oh yeah,
those aren't hard places to play. Weather's great, and they're half empty stadiums. Yeah, no, I agree with you. This is a sneaky hard place to play. It would be harder if the game was at 7:30, Michael. Like I think they catch a little bit of a break.
5:30 local. It's still going to be nighttime.
Right. It'll be chilly at the end.
Most part. So I'm going to take Utah to win, barely. Arizona to cover. I've got Utah 30, Arizona 27.
All right.
That's the under. Also
3-point game.
Yeah, 3-point game.
Look at you.
Look, they lost by 10 against Washington. Lost by 8 against USC. Lose by 3 against Utah, and they're probably going to get blown out against UCLA.
What did Rich Rod say? First you lose big, then you lose little, then you win little, then you win big. So I think they're in the losing little stage.
Yeah, I think he stole that from Bobby Bowden. That's my research on Sunday, but that's okay.
Yeah,
it's a copycat league.
It's a copycat world. Yeah. Everything, nothing's original really,
except the Wildcast podcast. We're always original.
There we go.
Here. All right, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the Wildcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Download the Wildcaster app for free off the App Store and Google Play. College basketball season is here. We got tons of content on that app, so download it today and check out our work on Tucson.com.
There's a column by a Mr. Justin Spears that's on our website right now that I recommend everybody read.
Thank you.
This is the 10-year anniversary of you playing your final high school football game.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's really good.
Football's done a lot for me. And since then, I have been able to look at chicken and waffles the same because that was our call with me and our right guard.
Okay.
Every time we say chicken and waffles, it was combo block.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime I said check whiskey, it meant wedge block, where we all just kind of come together. And so looking at those things, also looking at just relationships that I've made, football's been good to me.
Excellent.
Love the sport. Appreciate you guys. Thank you once again for listening. Check out our work on Tucson.com and the Wildcaster app.